They call it the villain era, that moment when women stop apologizing for taking up space, when they finally realize that the game was rigged from the start, so they might as well play by their own rules. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video dives deep into something that's been transforming women's lives, embracing the villain era as a Sigma female. Before anyone clicks away thinking this is about being mean or toxic, let's clarify. That's exactly what society wants people to think, that powerful women who prioritize themselves must be villains. Well, maybe it's time to reclaim that word. This is about the quiet power that comes when women stop seeking external validation. When they realize that the most significant relationship they'll ever have is with themselves. When they understand that being labeled difficult usually means they're just refusing to be convenient for others. So what exactly is a villain era? It's that watershed moment in life when a woman stops playing by someone else's rulebook. When she realizes that the path to genuine power isn't through people-pleasing, it's through authenticity and boundaries. History is full of women who were villainized simply for refusing to conform. Marie Curie was told scientific research wasn't for women. Frida Kahlo was too intense, too authentic. Even today, any woman who prioritizes herself over others risks being labeled selfish, cold, or worse. The Sigma female understands something critical. Sometimes being cast as the villain is the price of admission for living life on your own terms. Unlike the alpha female who thrives at the top of social hierarchies, the Sigma exists outside of them altogether. She doesn't need to dominate conversations or command attention. Her power is in her selective engagement. She chooses when and where to invest her energy. Let's be clear, this isn't about becoming cold or uncaring. It's about becoming discerning. It's about recognizing that energy is precious and not everyone deserves access to it. Consider Sarah's story. 2 years ago, she was completely burned out. She was saying yes to everything, helping everyone with their projects, attending every social event she was invited to. She was exhausted, resentful, and ironically, people still wanted more from her. Sarah's villain era began when she got sick for 3 weeks and physically couldn't show up for others. And guess what? The world kept spinning. The people who she thought couldn't function without her found other solutions, and the handful who checked in on her without asking for anything, those were her real connections. That illness was the best thing that ever happened to Sarah because it showed her how unsustainable her people-pleasing lifestyle was. How does someone know if they're ready to activate their villain era? Let's go through some telltale signs. Sign number 1, feeling resentful most of the time. If a woman is constantly doing things she doesn't want to do and feeling bitter about it, that's her inner Sigma screaming to be released. That resentment is telling her something important. Her boundaries are being crossed. Sign number 2, caring too much what others think. Does she rehearse conversations in her head? Does she analyze texts for hours? Does she make decisions based on how they'll be perceived rather than what she actually wants? Her villain era begins when she realizes most people are too wrapped up in their own lives to judge hers with any consistency. Sign number 3, apologizing automatically. Count how many times the average woman says sorry in a day. It's likely at least a dozen. Women have been conditioned to apologize for existing, for having needs, for taking up space. The Sigma villain stops apologizing for things that aren't actual transgressions. Sign number 4, exhaustion from giving. Energy vampires can sense givers from a mile away. If a woman is constantly depleted from one-sided relationships, it's time to embrace that villain energy and start setting consequences, not just boundaries. Sign number 5, unfulfilled dreams kept on hold. I'll focus on my dreams when everyone else is taken care of. If this sounds familiar, a villain era is long overdue. The Sigma female knows that her purpose isn't sacrificed on the altar of other people's priorities. If 3 or more of these signs resonate with viewers, congratulations. They're ready to step into their power. The question is, are they brave enough to let others label them the villain while they create a life they actually want? Now let's talk practical steps. How does someone actually embrace their Sigma villain era without becoming someone they don't recognize? 1. The art of strategic silence. Silence makes people uncomfortable, which makes it powerful. When someone pushes boundaries, try saying nothing. No justification, no apology, just a calm, direct look. It's amazing how often people will backtrack when they're not getting the reaction they expect. The Sigma villain doesn't rush to fill awkward silences. She understands that whoever speaks first in a negotiation usually loses. 2. Selective investment. Time and energy are non-renewable resources. Start treating them that way. This means not everyone gets access to personal time. Not every invite deserves a yes. Not every request deserves consideration. Not every opinion deserves an emotional response. Create a hell yes or no policy. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. The Sigma edge requires being selectively available and abundantly discerning. 3. The power of mild disappointment. When someone crosses boundaries, anger isn't necessary. Try calm disappointment instead. That's interesting that you would say that, or I expected better, delivered with steady eye contact is often more effective than any argument. The Sigma villain doesn't explode. She imparts the subtle feeling that one has failed to meet her reasonable standards. 4. Strategic directness. Society has taught women to cushion everything they say. I'm sorry to bother you, but if it's not too much trouble, I was wondering if maybe possibly you might consider. The Sigma villain communicates with clean, direct language. This doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. That won't be possible. I've decided to go in another direction. No justification, no excessive explanation. 5. The art of leaving. The ultimate power move is the willingness to walk away from conversations, opportunities, relationships, and situations that don't serve one's highest good. Most people stay too long in everything. Jobs, relationships, conversations. The Sigma villain knows when to exit, and she does it without drama. These tools aren't about being unkind. They're about being authentic and maintaining energy. The most generous thing a woman can offer the world is her undiluted self, not her depleted people-pleasing version. When someone starts embracing their Sigma villain edge, they should prepare for resistance. People who benefited from previous people-pleasing ways won't be thrilled about the transformation. Pushback 1. You've changed. You used to be so nice. Translation. You used to be more convenient for me. Response options. Thank you for noticing. Change was necessary. I'm still nice, just more selective about where I direct it. Or the most powerful, a simple smile and subject change. Pushback 2. You're being selfish, cold, difficult. Translation. Your boundaries make me uncomfortable. Response options. I understand it might seem that way from your perspective. I need to prioritize my well-being right now. Or silence, which we've established is golden. Pushback 3. If you really cared, you would. Translation. I'm trying to manipulate you with guilt. Response options. Caring takes many forms. This is how I'm choosing to care right now. I care about you and myself. Both matter to me. Or a firm but kind, I'm not available for that conversation. Remember, pushback is actually good news. It means the changes are noticeable. It means she's no longer being overlooked. It means her villain era is in full effect. The people who truly deserve a place in her life will adjust to her evolution. Those who don't, well, that's valuable information. There's something surprising about embracing the Sigma villain edge. The benefits extend far beyond the individual. When a woman stops people-pleasing and starts honoring her true self, her relationships become more authentic. The connections that remain are based on who she really is, not who she pretends to be. She inspires others. Nothing is more compelling than someone living unapologetically. Her courage gives others permission to claim their power too. Her creativity flourishes. Energy previously spent on managing others' perceptions gets redirected into passions and purpose. Her intuition sharpens. Without the noise of people-pleasing, She can hear her inner wisdom more clearly. Her success accelerates. When she stops playing small to make others comfortable, she makes space for her biggest aspirations. Consider Jennifer's story. Since embracing her Sigma villain era, she's launched her business, doubled her income, ended relationships that were draining her, and found a level of inner peace she didn't know was possible. But the most surprising benefit? Jennifer is actually more compassionate now. When she's not exhausted from fake niceness, she has genuine kindness to offer where it matters most. The villain era isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who a woman has always been, beneath the layers of conditioning and people-pleasing. The Sigma female doesn't seek the spotlight, but she doesn't hide from it either. She doesn't crave approval, but she's not afraid of disapproval. She moves through the world on her own terms, creating her own definition of success. Here's a challenge for viewers. For the next week, try one tool from the Sigma Villain Toolkit each day. Notice the resistance that comes up, both from others and from within. That resistance is where growth happens. Remember, being cast as the villain in someone else's story usually means you're the hero in your own. Embrace your edge. Own your power. Your villain era isn't just activated, it's just beginning. If this resonated with you, hit subscribe and that notification bell. Drop a comment sharing one boundary you're going to set this week,